Okay, so what am I doing now? It's later in the day, Thursday, which means it's Friday morning for all you here right now. And yesterday I sent a text off to the ladies, and I didn't know, but my one dear friend has a flip phone, and I was texting her flip phone, so she didn't know and I didn't know. And Sarah texted her daughter and found out. And she was also at her original home, which she grew up in on the coast, remote. So I wasn't able to get her into the house yesterday, but I will. I just don't know when now. So anyway, now what? Excuse me. So I'm gonna get some voices heard. So all the people who love to hear voices heard first thing in the morning continue to do so. And what time is it right now? It's probably 5 or 6 in the morning when this launches. Where would I be? Right now I am probably an hour into my drive heading towards the mountains, logging roads to head out to the coast. So what I'm going to do, I think some people may have been confused thinking I was going to flash up the remote setup and leave it there. It's not the case. What I am going to do for the first time later on today, as you watch this video right now, I'm going to come on here and stream live from a ridiculous place where I would never have dreamt to be able to do something like that ever. And I'll use the equipment for the first time and see how smooth it is. Make sure it all works. And then I'll show you the view wherever I choose to go. I don't know where I'm going to go. I'll probably go up a deactivated logging road, lock in the hubs, and climb. And get up somewhere where I can give a real good 360 view of where I am. Who knows, maybe we'll see something, I don't know, bear or elk or something. And I'll do that, so you're watching this morning. So I will be doing that later on today. Probably before noon. Alright? And you guys can help me test out the gear, let me know if you can hear me okay. One unfortunate thing is, our highway is closed again today. Yesterday. And yesterday my expensive camera, which I ordered, is the one I'm going to leave in the woods streaming 24/7. That's not making it here in time, so that sucks. So I'll just bring all my stuff here with me, throw it in the truck, and we'll give it a go. And hopefully it works out smooth, and then I'll have to mess with that camera on Monday when I return home again. Because I'm guiding tomorrow and the next day. Now, to get some more voices heard, alright? This is titled Attention Steve. This may be a big puzzle piece. Now I understand this channel is not the place to... I don't know what that meant. To talk about this event... is not the place to talk about this event. So the title goes into the email first, but I think you should hear about this. Please leave out the location. I'm not at all a good writer or speller, but I'll do my best. It all started October 30th, 2014 at around 7:30 p.m. on a clear night. I get a call from my brother, who is working on the Songo River. The Songo River Queen, a paddle wheel boat for sightseeing on Long Lake. He's repairing the engine. He tells me about 2 gold balls that were circling each other, racing up and down the lake at a very high speed. And for me to go outside to see if I could see anything in the sky. Took a prickle right to the face getting horses. Anyway, so I step out onto the deck facing north. We're still on the phone talking. I look around, but I don't see anything. About 2 minutes later, still on the phone, I see a gold ball come over the roof line from where we saw it was about 5 feet in diameter. I'm telling him what I'm seeing. After a minute or two, we hang up. Another gold ball shows up. And now I'm feeling this is really strange. I go outside to the south side of the house. It's starting to get darker. To my shock, I see many gold and white balls, around 10 to 15. It's getting even darker now. Now I go back in, grab my phone, call my brother and tell him what I'm seeing. And tell him you have to come and see this. But he said I can't. The boat has to be ready for the 9 a.m. run. So I go back outside with the phone. Now I'm looking at oblong white-shaped discs light up from the inside and pretty bright. No outside lights, around 30 feet in diameter. About 10 to 15 of them, and about 100 to 125 feet off the ground. Punctuation's out, okay, so I'm a little awkward, but we'll get it. Within about 2 minutes, these huge discs, about 75 feet in diameter, with small red lights all around the out edge, about the number as the white ones. So pardon me, about the same number as the white ones. By this time, I've called my brother at least 3 more times, and I was getting scared. Yeah, I know you must be thinking, right about now. But it gets much stranger. Now the white balls start coming out of the white craft, and the gold ball comes out of the huge discs. Even more crafts are coming in all over, hovering in the same area. Over 30 minutes had gone by from my first call to my brother, and my fear is going up. This part is the part I think you'll find interesting. The balls were flying all around. As the balls come out of the crafts, they would bump into each other and go back and touch the craft, fly out, become one ball, and go straight to the ground. They did not go back up. They were gone. It had been at least 45 minutes from the first call, and I can't believe what I'm seeing. And fear has really set in. Now I'm peeking around the edge of the house. This continued with the balls for another 15 to 20 minutes. The balls did not come back up from the ground, so there wasn't many balls left. My brother's house is about 60 feet from my house, and someone turned on his big outside light, so I moved to the dark side of the house, facing where it was happening. The second I moved into the dark, I heard what sounded like 3 heavy steps, followed by a very big oak tree being pushed over. The sound of the cracking was so loud, it was unbelievable. It was less than 200 feet from me. The wind was died calm and had been all night. A few minutes later, they all started moving to the northwest over a big field. I tried to count them and I got to 17, but there were more. For 3 or 4 days after that night, I could see smaller gold balls in the woods. At about 8:30 p.m. and this time, 5 or 6 of us all watched them at the same time. What the hell were they doing? It kept me awake many nights. They're placing something there, I believe, but what or who? I had times I had to stop writing. I was shaking so bad, and I'm 68 years old. If you have questions, phone number. Unless if I have seen things like this, thousands must have too. It's unbelievable but true. Thanks for what you're doing. Alright, I got it. A little awkward, but I got it. That is scary. I mean, that'd be crazy to watch, but obviously it's going to be scary and alarming for most of us too, right? I've seen a few weird things in the sky. The very first time I know I saw what's called a UFO, I was doing my paper route when I was in like grade 6 or 7. Back then when kids used to be able to deliver papers without getting abducted. And have a little basket on the front handlebars of my bike. A little brace that went down to the front axle and held all your papers. And it was wintertime, so it was dark, and I was doing it before school. Was it before school or after school? One or the other. And I'm riding down the road. I looked up to my left and I noticed a ball of light moving along in the sky. I don't know how far it was, who knows. But then all of a sudden it split into 2. And then it went straight up and disappeared. And I was like, holy shit. I remember that. And then I've shared this before. My friend and I were up north backpack. We got dropped off using horses. We got dropped off way up in the mountains. And then my other partner dropped us off and left with the horses so we wouldn't have to be connected to wrangling every day and night. And we're sitting on a mountain, bluebird day, and looking up, and we noticed a pewter-colored round ball sitting stationless in that blue sky. And that would have been directly north of us. How far away? I haven't a clue. There was nothing there to gauge. I would not have been able to guess the distance it was from us. It seemed to be a long ways off. If I was to look in the sky, I mean, it was a long ways off, I'd imagine. I don't know. But it just sat there. We're just sitting there. We had spotting scopes looking for mountain sheep, and I remember looking back, I'm like, well, the UFO's still there. What do we do now, right? There's a ball in the sky. It's not a star, it's not a planet, it's not the moon. What do you do, right? I guess just share it and see if somebody else has seen something like it. And then last fall I was by myself, or maybe my friend was with me then. No, I was by myself, in camp, up north, by myself at night, and I saw a link of the lights went by, which are allegedly the Starlink satellites. But then I saw two more lights coming from the right, and I thought I probably had the satellites, and then another one from the left. And then they're changing course and ripping around. And then all of a sudden there was at least 18 to 20 of these lights ripping around to the sky way up there. And that's the first time I actually felt anxiety, and I started feeling freaked out, because then I found myself hoping they weren't going to come down to me. So, that's the only tiny amount I can possibly relate to this eyewitness account of the. I can understand him being scared, fear, for sure. And that's what the hell they are, right? And there's no question about it. Bright lights in the sky. Which I call them. Whoever come up with the word orb, O-R-B, haven't a clue. I don't know its origin. I don't know. All I know is the bright lights in the forest and the hills and the sky 100% are related to, on average, these other beings that people are seeing all over the world. It's such a stupid common pattern, it's ridiculous and you can't ignore it. That's all there is to it, and that's a fact. And of course, that also makes my brain go to the original bad characters of the original Bigfoot Sasquatch community who want you to believe it's some kind of wild monkey or gorilla. They are lying through their frickin' teeth, right? How long have we been doing this? Just a few years, right? Now, how long, ask yourselves this honest question, how long would it take you to figure out, just through all these eyewitness testimonies, sure, some of them are made up, who gives a shit? We need the ones that are made up. So our guts tell us they're made up, so our guts tell us what's correct. That's how I roll anyway. How long would it take you, be honest, how long would it take you all to quickly realize we're not dealing with an unrecognized monkey or gorilla? Seriously, think about it. If your brain's firing on its own, how long would it take you to figure out that we're not dealing with an unrecognized monkey or gorilla? Not very long, right? And the more eyewitnesses come forward with all this information, the more it is in our faces that those previous narrative holders are lying through their teeth. And I believe a handful of them still make it to the stage of some of these conferences, and they still look people in the eye and lie to them to their face. Isn't that amazing? Creepy. Can't get off topic. Sorry. But it's emails and eyewitness accounts like these and more, as they stack up and come at us by the thousands, that I realize just how many people have been suppressed, discarded, kicked to the curb when they built up the courage to come forward with what they saw, and the safe place they thought was the safe place was not the safe place. Now we're starting to figure out just how many people kept their lips shut because they knew that group was not safe. Those groups, those individuals, whatever. Bit of a ramble-bamble. Let's go. Let's read some more. Appreciate you sharing that, and I'm looking forward to hearing if somebody else saw what you saw. Now, this is titled Warning, Book Ahead. Mark read when finished. I'll send more. It's a book and you got more? Alright, how much of a book is it? It's a book. Oh, it's a book. Alright, I'm going in. I ain't scared. Here we go. The beginning of a book. What did I blood in my face? Got stuck with a prickle. Earlier, here we go. Greetings, Steve. I wrote three emails to you last year in succession, yet only one reached you and was read. I try not to miss any of your videos, but if it sounds familiar, skip on to the next one, LOL. Hope this email finds you and your family well, and your Dodge Ram back together and being dependable again. Excuse me. I must warn you, don't read this email until you have A, full cup of coffee, warm gloves, your glasses, fresh batteries in your camera, and most importantly, all goats, dogs, and chicken gangsters removed from your immediate area so your tripod has a fighting chance of survival, lol. I was told about your site a few years back by a friend who was sharing an encounter with me. I figured it was just another storytelling channel with the corny music and mysterious voice telling a story that may or may not be true. I can't stand those channels and those idiotic TV shows where they bang on trees and claim to hear things while they are busy talking and acting so scientific. I wish a Bigfoot would land in the middle of their group and scare them into a straitjacket and end their career on television. Of course, I would love to see one come out of the woods and do a dance behind you while you read emails. Then you would get lots of positive comments. Sorry for the loss of Mr. Macaroni. I know how much the loss of a four-legged friend can affect your daily life when you have them for such a long time and do everything together. Thank you for showing us your Camaro. I would love to see another video of it again under the hood as well. My mom had a 69, same color as yours, but a guy ran a light and totaled it. That sucks. Many thanks for putting up with all the idiot people who just want to harass you so the truth can be put out there for us to hear. If they can't enjoy your channel like so many of us do without blowing a gasket and writing nasty grams to you, they need to throw their phone away and join the Marines or something. That would take care of their sniveling. I don't know how you do it. Honestly, I don't enjoy reading that much anyway, but to spend hours sorting through emails, putting up with assholes who need to keep their mouths shut, it's unbelievable how much patience you have. Again, thank you for all the time you spend doing this. Writing is certainly not something I enjoy, but I have felt the need to get my experiences out there to encourage others to not be afraid, to do what they love in the great outdoors. Now, granted, I've never seen a giant wolf on 2 feet, and I don't care to, or being screamed at by a Bigfoot. But still, I've had many encounters, some of which I will put in this email. I had too many encounters for one read, but I will try to get back to you again soon. My name is CJ, and I've grown up in the Mount Hood National Forest of Western Oregon all my life. Although I have traveled around the U.S. for about 10 years, working the oil field of Texas and North Dakota, and logging operations on both coasts. Although I am not an avid hunter like yourself, ever since I could walk, I spent every moment in the woods exploring, climbing, and hiking all over the thousands of acres of national forest that my family's land backs up to. My sister and I have always loved climbing trees, whether like a monkey or with spurs, as I do in the summers for work. And sometimes I'm slightly worried about meeting a sabe in the top of a 200-foot fir tree one day. That would suck. I never thought of that. I wonder if it's happened. As mentioned, I have worked in the timber industry all my life and spent countless hours in the daylight or after dark cutting firewood year-round. Since I was little, I always heard from loggers that the sound of a chainsaw will bring in the sabe because they are curious by the sound. It's very true, as I will explain in the future, by my own personal experiences. Logging runs in my family, as I have many family members up in Idaho who had a large company operation till the spotted owl bullshit pretty much shut them down in the late 70s. I've always wanted to ask my great uncle what he knows about the sabe and if he has had encounters of his own, since he was in the Forest Service on fire towers way back in the 50s before he took up logging. But being a man I greatly respect, I don't want him thinking I'm losing my marbles. Like other family members, I've told my encounters too. He's in his late 80s. So I know the time is coming when his knowledge will be lost. So I need to ask him soon. I've shared my stories to a handful of people and ultimately made friends with others who have experienced things in the woods themselves and are scared to share. Just the other day, a longtime friend of mine and retired farmer mentioned an encounter he had years ago, so I need to get the details on it soon. I would encourage others to not be afraid to share their encounters with close friends in a serious manner and straightforward talk. We cannot change what we have seen, and it's their choice whether to believe it or not. Just like my encounters, they are true. And I don't give a shit what people think on here. Okay, let me start. I'll try to tell these in order as they happen best I can. May not be able to get many on here before my phone taps out, lol. Recalled as my folks told us, in the winter of 85 or 86, my folks were hiking out to go to town between storms in the middle of a typical heavy winter back then. My sister and I were just a few years old, and they were starting early at dawn in order to make the quarter-mile hike down to our Chevy K5 Blazer at the bottom of the driveway, because you had to hike back up several times with supplies when you came home. May have read this, but there's hundreds of thousands of new people here. As they neared the top of the hill, the bottom of the thicket, about 100 feet from the house, they both stopped dead in their tracks, staring at this giant footprint in the deep snow ahead of them. Now, my dad is a husky 5'10" Vietnam Air Force vet and does not believe in anything unless it is proven to him to his face. So he stood there a while staring down at a giant print and a whole trail of them coming out of the woods through the thicket to the driveway, turning, going down the road out of sight. He measured them using his pocket knife from heel to toe and noticed every print had a large pointed claw in the big toe. And the print measured 17.5 inches long and 10 inches wide. Being Air Force, he's extremely precise on details and measurements, and noticed that the prints were 6 foot apart in single file. At first he thought the neighbors' kids were making the tracks, but they lived a half a mile away through the woods. And why would they be out in the dark in last night's storm anyway? The tracks were extremely clean, with no fallen snow or debris in them, meaning they were very fresh. Also, the snow was too deep for a 10-year-old kid on stilts to make perfect tracks without a mishap. They noticed as they walked along inspecting every track, they had only heard of a Sasquatch in North American folklore and didn't think it actually existed. But as they continued down the road, my dad was afraid that the creature of these tracks had possibly torn his 4x4 Blazer apart in hopes of finding food inside. But as they rounded the corner following the prints, he noticed that the prints walked right up to the truck. The prints walked right up to the truck and around the back and then off into the woods again. My folks immediately drive to the ranger station and examined charts with animal prints, but nothing was near big enough, till they described their size to the ranger, who was Native American. And she said that the loggers up the mountain past us had been seeing them daily on the job sites. For weeks after that, my folks were scared of that thing coming back to visit while Dad was at work, with Mom and us kids at home. But thankfully nothing happened. The next encounter was told to us by a guy named Andrew, who came to the house when I was about 12. He was installing a sound system for my dad, and the poor guy had to have my dad walk him to his car because he was so terrified of the dark woods. I'd love to find Andrew again and get all the details once more, now that I am older. But here's his encounter. Growing up in an isolated cabin with his brother, further up on Mount Hood, they used to hike all the time growing up in the woods. One summer, he and his brother, the 2 German Shepherds, and a friend left on a hike to a nearby lake, which they planned to camp out overnight. Along the way, they met up with a ranger who was going the same direction. Covering his rounds to watch a tower, I believe, the 4 went on their way and stopped to rest at a high ridge surrounding the lake before they descended down the switchback trail, which was cut into the steep, almost vertical bank. The trail was cut into the hillside, with 12-foot distance between the bank lips on both sides. So far that a human could not jump it without falling to his death at the bottom down by the lake. Before descending down, they noticed a large cave at the top of the ridge, into which the boys all shot some practice rounds into with their assault rifles. As I understand it, all 3 boys were packing rifles, and the ranger carried a handgun. Once they hiked down the long hillside, this distance being somewhere close to a mile from cave ridge to lake, they set up camp and built a large fire. After dark, they were sitting around their fire talking when suddenly this monstrous, loud scream came from the ridge line above where the cave was. Something large continued screaming at them for several moments, and then charged straight down the steep hillside, jumping the trail walls with ease. He said it covered the distance of a mile in several seconds, and ran directly up to them, and stayed back just barely in the dim firelight. That's a lot of confidence, right? That's not something that's terrified of humans. He said it was huge, upwards of 9 feet tall. It roared at all of them, and everyone immediately opened fire on it. Oh, no way! Putting as many rounds into it as they could. To which that had no effect. It ran right between them, knocking down a tent and off into the darkness around the lake. One of the German shepherds took off after it. That's not common. And seconds later they heard the dog scream, and then all was silent. The next day they found it had ripped the shepherd in half and thrown it aside. That's common. The immediate plan was to pack and leave right that second, but they were afraid that the darkness back up the trail might be hiding more such monsters waiting for them. Also, the brother's friend had drank water from the lake and had gotten sick. They could not carry him out all that way. They decided two would go for help and two would stay there. I don't remember who got to keep the other dog for early warning of another attack. It took the two who left a long time to get back, and the two remaining at the lake had to spend a second night there, in which the Sasquatch came back with another one. I don't remember the details of the second encounter, but the rescue choppers came the third day and airlifted them out. None of them went back in the woods again, and the ranger took a desk job afterwards. I'd love to hear the encounter again in more detail, and if Andy is out there, hopefully he will write in. It wasn't until recent years, after hearing recorded whoops and tree knocks, that I realized my sister and I heard those all the time in the woods growing up, sometimes hearing jungle noises like chimpanzee chatter on a National Geographic show we saw as kids. We just figured it was elk or some kind of weird bird, and the mountain valleys increasing any noises in volume, which it does. At 15, I was still spending the majority of my free time in the woods by myself since my sister had started driving and got a job in town. And I worked with my dad during the summers rebuilding houses or cutting firewood. Only on one particular occasion while I was exploring the woods do I remember the strong feeling of being watched. It came upon me suddenly while I was climbing up a bank in an area where the timber was large and there was a little to no underbrush for some distance around me. I stopped and carefully scanned the valley around me, but never saw anything. I was eager to move onward and away from the area. And after a couple hundred more feet, the feeling subsided, and my hair stopped standing on end. I was quite used to encountering cougars, coyotes, bears, and large herds of deer, and elk at close range in the forest. On more than one occasion from a very young age, I can remember crouching down in the forest behind a large stump or log and watching a herd of 12 to 30 deer or elk come charging through the trees, running helter-skelter like a buffalo stampede on the Great Plains. Now I have to wonder if something was chasing them. Ever since I was born, my dad would put me on his shoulders and we'd go walking into the woods around our property. And so I never feared things that made their own homes in the forest. Still to this day, I'm more at home there than going to town and dealing with people, and I don't take kindly to those asshole Antifa who are trying to ruin our country and burn our towns and homes down. I'm not the one to be scared or bullied, whether by a government thug or a Sabe. But that year, I would have my first encounter with the Bigfoot. Now, that spring, May 2000, we've been having some trouble with kids opening up old discarded logging roads that led to our property. One afternoon I was home by myself and I went to investigate some motor sounds I had heard a couple ridges over. Later in the afternoon I was returning, coming back over a mountaintop where we hung out all the time. Before I went down into the valley, up onto the smaller mountain that was our land, elevation approximately 2,000 feet. This larger mountain is full of old-growth timber, heavy vine maple thickets, and littered with overturned first-growth stumps and trees left from a forest fire in early 1900, many times 5 to 6 feet in diameter. With all the brush and obstacles, including small hemlock clumps everywhere, it's a slow going down the 1,000-foot slope to the valley, which had been clear-cut logged the previous summer. My sister and I had spent all our born days hiking there, climbing trees and riding horseback all over that mountain, and never seen anything like I encountered that day. Upon reaching the top of the mountain, where the brush is so thick you can't see 10 feet in any direction around you, I started the slow and difficult trek down the side towards the valley, and approximately 20 to 30 minutes later, I reached it. As I was walking across the landing, where the log loader had stacked up a huge slash pile, I suddenly heard a noise coming from the top of the mountain where I'd just been. I turned around and listened to what sounded like deer walking through the noisy slough and Oregon grape bushes. As it started to come slowly over the peak to my left, I smiled to myself as the sound got slightly louder, and I knew I was likely to see a dozen deer come running down the hillside into the clearing. But suddenly, the noise went from being spread out to coming from one individual, and it changed course to directly at me, and it picked up amazing speed, and my heart dropped into my stomach. The noise level went through the roof, like I have never heard before in my life. It sounded like a runaway freight train barreling through the woods straight at me, and it was blasting through the thickets and clearing massive stumps and logs with ease. I'll never forget the thought that went through my mind at that moment. I don't know what kind of monster I pissed off, but here it comes. Just writing this, the chills are running down my legs. It was covering ground like I couldn't believe, and suddenly it came in contact with a large tree, which exploded and went crashing off in every direction. I could hear the fibers of the tree separating and bouncing off each other as though two people threw armfuls of cedar kindling into the air at each other. The sound of the tree crashing sent me running across the road and diving behind a large buckskin log. I peered over the top, as I knew any second this monster was going to burst into the clearing and reveal itself. The 1,000-foot descent took no more than 5 to 7 seconds to cover. But when I came to the edge of the clearing, suddenly everything went dead silent. It didn't make one more sound, and there was no sound of any kind. For some reason that day, I had taken a walkie-talkie with me, which I used to try and reach someone on the other end at the house. I whispered into it as quietly as I could, but there was no reply. I kept my eyes glued to the bushes where that thing should have come out, 100 feet away, but nothing happened. I glanced up at the sky, which was slowly darkening as dusk was coming on. I waited 15 more minutes, trying the walkie-talkie again and again, but no reply. As dusk came slowly on, I knew I had to move and get back up through the woods on the other side of the clear cut, where it would be darker. I knew it was a game of cat and mouse, and this thing was trying to wait for darkness to come so it could surprise me. I wasn't taking that chance. So, keeping my eyes on the bushes, I got up slowly and quietly, and slowly crept down the skitter trail towards our property, always keeping my eyes to the rear. There wasn't any tall brush or anything to hide behind, and after making it along about 400 feet, I was starting to feel better and decided that I'd left it behind. After scanning the area once more, I turned around to make a left turn around a 6-foot diameter stump and head up another skitter trail that led to our own road system. At that second, something large barreled out of the bushes behind me up the road I just walked down and landed on the ground with a momentous boom. I dove behind the stump and got down low, fearfully listening as this thing came striding along on 2 legs, sounding like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. The ground vibrated with every step, and there was a slight delay before each step. Boom, boom, boom. It was coming right at me. And after 3 or 4 steps, it had strode right up to the stump, opposite side from me. Ooh, that would suck. Of course, I just found my spot. Boom, boom, boom. I was terrified, and so scared, I did not want to find out what was 6 feet from me. I looked upward toward the top of the stump, expecting some huge face to come roaring over at any second. I reached down and picked up the biggest stubby rocker limb that was within reach. It looked like I had a pencil in my hand, but I told myself that I was going to hit that thing square in the face with everything I had before it killed me. I waited, and again, not one more sound did I hear. Dead silence, for what seemed like eternity. I must have waited a full minute or two, and I was so stressed out, waiting for the end to come. I couldn't figure out how it had sneaked up on me without seeing or hearing it. After hearing other encounters on your channel, I now know it went invisible or through a portal of some kind. I knew darkness was coming and I had to take my chances and put my fear behind me or be killed. I took everything I had. But I turned around my back to the stump and rose to my feet and walked directly away from it. I knew that thing was watching me. It could take me at any second, but I was putting my faith in God to get me home. I decided to take the most direct path and cut through the woods to our driveway and not look back once. And I did just that. I stayed focused. Although my thoughts were going crazy and I was sweating up a storm, I hated that it could be walking right behind me, ready to rip my head off at any given moment. But I forced myself to stay calm. Dad always taught me to never run from a predator, always walk and stay calm. Or try to make yourself look as big and threatening as possible when faced with a threat. However, I did not want to see what this thing was up close. I just wanted out of there quickly. Once I had covered about 800 feet up through the woods to the road, I decided to look back. In the clear cut down below through the trees, I could see this large black square thing on all fours crossing over the bleached out rocker limbs left from the logging job and coming straight up my direction. It was several hundred feet behind me, but I knew it was still in pursuit. I increased my pace slightly, and once I had covered about 75 feet, I looked back again, and it had cut through the woods and was directly behind me on the road about 30 feet back. I was shocked to see it had gained that much ground on me without any sound. It was here that I got a quick glance at it. Still on all fours, its back was about 4 feet off the ground, its shoulders were very square and probably 4 feet wide. The face was solid black, as was the rest of it, covered in long black hair, and it walked somewhat like a gorilla would, I suppose. Its fists were balled up, and it was walking on its knuckles. The shoulders, huge and bulky, and it tapered slightly downward from the shoulders towards its waist. It was still taking large strides after me, and it was then that I had my hardest time not going into full panic mode. I turned, and fighting myself with everything I had not to run, forced myself to keep walking through the incline, though the incline increased from there. At that instant, our Rottweilers, which were in their kennel about 500 feet away at the house, went full on crazy, charging the chain link fence and raising hell like I never heard before. I never looked back again. I had one intention, and that was to focus and walk. That I did. Straight past the dog's house and to the barn, where I went inside, shut the doors, and turned on every outside light that was available. Eventually my family did come home, and it took quite a bit of courage to walk through the dark woods between the house and the barn. I didn't mention anything to them for several weeks. And I just told them that a bear followed me home. I knew they would never believe a monster lived in our woods, so I didn't. It took me about a week to go back into the woods, and my head was on a swivel after that. To the listeners out there, don't let your encounters keep you from doing what you love. 18 years later, I've had a number of encounters more, but I just stand my ground and let them make the first move. I came face to face with one in the dense thicket on the same mountainside several years ago in the winter of 2018. I was working my way down the hillside through the brush when I come to a small opening about 15 feet across and sheltered by a grove of 20-foot hemlock trees. On the other side of this dark, shadowy opening was an overturned stump and a massive dark form standing behind it. I could see the outline of a head mounted to 4-foot wide shoulders. No visible eyes or features, and I was asking myself, quote, "What am I looking at?" end quote. I am now 6'4" and about 210 pounds, and this thing was probably 7 to 8 feet and 400 to 500 pounds. I then realized this solid black hulk was staring at me when it suddenly turned profile to me and ran to its left out of sight for an instant around the trunk of a tree and then away from me down the hillside at an angle through an opening in the larger timber. The profile showed me large pectoral muscles, a forehead, and face without hair and a sloped nose. As it ran down the mountainside away from me, I was able to watch it run for approximately 150 feet, which it covered in about a second. It was flinging its arms back and forth as it ran, and it was covered in long, stringy, dark brown hair, about 8 inches long, hanging off of its arms. It ran faster than anything I've ever seen run ever. And if I would had defended myself at that distance, even with my .357 in hand, I would never have been able to raise up and get a shot before it had me. That's kind of scary to think about, really. I couldn't believe what I just saw, and if I really had seen it. I shrugged my shoulders and continued on my way. Another time, about a year earlier, I've been scouting spot fires for the local fire department. When a kid burned 38,000 acres of our Columbia River Gorge, and our idiot governor wouldn't let the forest fire bombers put it out. After evacuating the farm, I hiked around through the woods looking for a spot fire started by flying embers, when I came across this huge footprint in the humus. I wear a size 14 boot, and I could put 2 of my feet side by side and have 6 extra inches from my toes forward. Excuse me. The brush was very low, and lots of vine maples hanging down everywhere, making it not easy for something taller than 5 foot to walk around. I noticed the ground was quite hard and I couldn't sink in it at all, yet this print was down 3 inches probably. Another thing I noticed was the pine needles were falling constantly all around me with the extreme heat from the forest fire smoke. Yet there were no needles in this print. It had just been made before I came upon it. I carefully scanned the brush around me, took a quick picture, then went on my way. As I've been told by friends who know more than I do about the Sabe, they leave evidence for only you to find, if they trust you. Those who are blessed by sightings of the good ones will continue to see them many times more in their lives. They can sense your intentions, like a dog can, and whether you are good or not. That's why I don't pack while I'm in the woods, while I'm in their woods. I don't fear them, and I look forward to more encounters with them in the future. Besides, as Andy showed us, guns don't matter anyway to them much. I've had many other encounters in later years, but that's for another time. I've taken up enough of your time for now. Thanks for letting me share here. Blessings to you and your family, and keep up the good fight, Steve. CJ. Whew, that was a good one. CJ. Well-written, long book. And you definitely put us there, that's for sure. It's not the experience that I would crave myself. That's just me. You're lucky. You're lucky to have reacted and still are reacting the same way, right? You know, many people would never go in the woods again if they went through what you went through. That thing behind you. Creepy. I wonder what answers and wonder what knowledge you've come up with, or if you've ever experienced that mind speak thing yet. Have you ever had that happen yet? Are you still with us watching? I hope so. And if you are, maybe do a follow-up and let me know some more knowledge you've gathered and whether or not you've experienced the mind speak thing. Have you seen the bright lights floating in the sky directly in relation to the sightings of these people? I wonder. Whew. That was a good one, right? That was a good long haul reading. Now what am I doing? Oh, yeah. So Sarah has her store fully set up in the house now. She's really proud of herself. She went to the other store and found some more of those crates, and she bought them all to set up, because she has all the boxes that everything comes in when she orders it, and all the boxes are stacked up and it's a big mess. And then she gets all the orders from people wanting stuff, and she has to sift through it by hand, and you just avoid the house when she's doing it, because she gets confused easily, but she's very meticulous at everything. She gets it done, and everybody gets their stuff right away. But anyways, I was bugging her when she's flown away. She's in the air right now still, I believe. And I built the website. I build websites. So I taught myself how. And I said, and I was looking at all the hats on the wall. And I'm like, it's hunting season. We got to get those orange ones sold and get them out to the hunters. She goes, people like them. I go, you put them up for sale. She's like, oh, I don't know. It's not really, there's a pile of money in there or whatever. I'm like, well, I'm going to put them on sale while you're gone. Right? Why not? Because I think I could figure out how to do that. So Anyway, she goes, go ahead, I don't care. Whatever. And, she's, all the money's forked out ahead of time, right? She's got to get her money back. But anyway. So I just grabbed, I'll show you the picture of the rack that she built. This is all the stuff she has right now is in this photo of the store. So, it's hunting season's coming up. And I'm going to knock $5 off of the cost of this one. And there's another bunch of hats she made for the ladies. It's got the pink on it. And I'm going to knock $5 off that one too. And then there's this one. She said this is really popular as well. But I think it's one of the more popular ones. This is the camo with the orange. I think I saw a bunch of those in the rack. I'm going to knock $5 off this too. And I'm going to leave it all $5 off until I come home on Monday. So what is it, Friday? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You got till Monday to clean her shelf out of those. And then we'll see if she notices if I put them on. She doesn't watch the videos. She doesn't think about it. She's got to put up my shit 24/7. She doesn't go out of her way to listen to me online. So we'll see. I'm not going to say shit. And we'll see if she notices that I put on a sale on her store this weekend. There you go. I'll show you one more time. So it's the hunter for hunting season. The ladies, the pink. I don't know what these are called. They're in the store. I haven't a clue what she's called them. I'll figure it out. These are pretty cool though. These camouflage with the orange writing. I'm knocking them all off $5 each while I'm gone, and I'll put it back normal before she gets home. So I have to pick her up on Tuesday, and we'll see if she figures it out, or even if anybody wants those. Maybe they don't. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, have those on the desk there beside me. Do I get time to do one more, or should I take off? I don't know. What's this one? It's fairly short. Let's close with this. Mark this as read. I can't wait for tomorrow to stream from the middle of nowhere. This is titled, And Away We Go. Hey Steve, my name is Donnie. I'm 56 years old. I was born and raised in good old Alabama. Roll Tide, brother. I haven't actually put my eyes on anything in the woods yet. My only possible experience occurred in Bullock County while hunting those spring gobblers. I was hunting very near a swampy area, and just at sunrise I began hearing what I first thought were some guys talking down in the swamp. However, as I began paying attention, I noticed the sounds of their voices were plenty loud enough to enable me to make out what they were discussing. It was very strange that I had never made out a single word. It sounded like a foreign tongue. Not to mention, I was on leased property, and there's no reason anyone would be there. Another time, I was about 20 feet up a hardwood tree deer hunting. It was about 20 minutes before daybreak. I'm guessing about 3 trees over a bobcat. I'm guessing about 3 trees over, a bobcat screamed so loud. Had it not been tethered in, I probably wouldn't be here. No coffee that morning, else I would have soiled myself. No, not pertinent to the topic, except to know what it's like to get that crap scared out of you in the deep, dark woods. Currently, I reside about 60 miles due north of Tuscaloosa, very rural. Lots of trees and land, simply holding the earth together, LOL. All of the emails you get can't be fabrications, and there should be a plethora of accounts from this area. Anyway, just wanted to let you know I enjoy listening to you recount all those emails. And by the way, I was brought up by hunting and fishing, and I envy you being able to make a living doing what you love. We could be brothers from different mothers. Be safe. We are. I have a lot of friends in Alabama, and there is a lot of sightings in Alabama. I don't know if you're familiar with all the sightings or not, but I've even met people firsthand, face-to-face. I met a trapper face-to-face down there in Greene County, and he found a massive pile of shit, and he saved a bunch in a plastic bag, and he also found 17.5-inch footprints that went across a freshly cultivated farm field. That was told to me directly. Anyway, there you go. It's Friday morning. I am driving right now as you listen to this, and I am, I don't know what time is this launching, 5:30 or something, 6 in the morning? So, 7, 8, 9, I'm guessing by at least 10 o'clock Pacific time, I should be ready to stream live. Now I believe I need to be fairly clear skies for this dish to work, so I can't do it in the timber. That sucks. Unless I manage to get the dish in a meadow somewhere and pull it off, and then I think I can go a ways from it to pick up the Wi-Fi, I'd imagine, if I went to the timber. But I think I want to get up on a mountain. I'm going to try to get to as high ground as I can. And then I'll be able to hand manipulate the camera and do a 360, show you guys where I am live. It's going to be cool. So there you go. That's all she wrote for today. I'll get the ladies on here when I get back from my big hunting trip. I won't have time. So that won't be happening now for at least 2 weeks. I'm putting those 3 hats on sale until Monday. And what else? Make sure you form your communities, alright? Have a community meeting just for the hell of it. Especially if you feel your community fits the description of being a possible victim to a wildfire or whatever. Who knows what's coming down the pipe, right? There's a lot of things to be very alarmed about going on today. A lot. Which directly affects, I mean, I know there are things happening south of the border from me in America right now that are absolutely mind-boggling alarming. If you follow and you think for yourself, you know what I'm talking about. And I do know 100% for a fact that whatever happens south of the border is directly linked to this side of the border. So guess what? You're all my brothers and sisters, always have been. But we are all one big happy family, right? Concerned family. So please try to get back to create a community. Everybody have a little meeting and talk about what's going on with each other directly, not online. Everybody gets to speak and find out what may concern each other and what all you can do as a community to counter the negative impacts of others or some kind of so-called natural act. All right, there you go. I'm ending with my little motivational speech. I'll see you guys later on today, somewhere, from some mountaintop somewhere. I'll see you shortly live.